Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. Today on the Observe Day podcast, in celebration of National Reading New Book Month, we're joined by a guest whose work captures both imagination and heart. J.F Monroe is the author of The Legacy of the Flawed trilogy, a fantasy series where ancient powers mingle with deeply human struggles of love, sacrifice, and identity. Her storytelling philosophy is simple yet powerful. The greatest magic lies in human connection. Inspired by the epic adventures of The Lord of the Rings, The Wonder of Harry Potter, and the high stakes of The Hunger Games, Monroe crafts worlds where readers see reflections of their own journeys in extraordinary characters. Beyond her books, she's a passionate advocate for the power of stories to change how we see ourselves and each other. So grab your favorite book and settle in because today we're exploring fantasy, creativity, and human hearts with J.F. Monroe. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. Can you tell us the story of how your love for fantasy fiction began?
Yeah, absolutely. So it happened about, I want to say the concept came to life around 7 years ago. I was on maternity leave at the time. I was bedridden, not a lot to do. And so I started to just like read a whole lot, binge watch movies and TV shows. And there was this one episode of a TV show I was watching that mentioned the Four Horsemen. And I
Okay.
really liked how they depicted them. And I realized that I didn't know too much about the Four Horsemen other than, what was in the book of Revelation, which was only like a few lines.
Oh,
And so started my intense deep dive into, what they were, who they were, what they
yeah.
represented. And I started to piece together this story from that concept of what if they were not here to bring about the apocalypse, but actually guardians that were going to protect humanity in a world where humans lived with angels and demons. Like what would be humanity's defense against something like that? And so the Four Horsemen kind of I turned that lore on its head of instead of apocalyptic, they're actually going to be, our safe haven, like our saviors. And so
Wow.
it just kind of like from there it developed.
Yeah. So prior to that inspiration, you've never written um other genres of fiction.
Oh, I have written a ton of different things, nothing published. So like I did a few blogs under a pen name, not J.F. Monroe. J.F. Monroe pays homage to actually those blogs. I dabbled in, fan fiction before. I wrote an article a really long time ago, not under a pen name, like I just actually wrote like an actual article on something. And so writing has been a lifelong dream of mine, just in general. Like I just enjoy writing, but publishing something, to actually putting something out there has been the dream. And I didn't
Yeah.
put a timeline on it or anything like that. It was like, if it's meant to be, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But yeah, I was writing way before then, just little snippets for myself and nothing as big as this is.
Yeah. Your philosophy emphasizes that the most powerful stories come from human relationships. How do you bring that to life in a fantasy settings where the worlds are so different from ours?
Yeah, so that's really important because you want to give the reader something to relate to, right? So fantasy in and of itself is usually depicted as like escapism, right? You get to ride dragons, you get to fight, monsters, and you can kind of get out of reality for a little bit. And so fantasy in that respect is awesome. It's great. And I love writing things like that. However, you do want to give the reader something where they can say, like, well, I can kind of relate to that. So you want to give them relatable characters. And that's what I was trying to do. Mix this wonderful, fantastical world where like these things that could never happen are happening and you can kind of live through it, but you can live through it through characters that you can see yourself in.
Yeah.
One of the tactics that I did when I wrote the characters for the Legendary Guardians is I don't describe them too much in detail. And I do that on purpose because I want you to be able to see yourself in these characters. They make ridiculous decisions sometimes, very human decisions, sometimes questionable decisions. I want somebody, my biggest compliment would be someone to turn around and say, okay, that wasn't the greatest decision, but I see why they did what they did in the situation
Yeah.
that they're in. Just something where they can grasp onto it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, many of the characters are they're flawed heroes and a bit morally complex villains. How do you balance that complexity while also keeping them relatable to readers?
Yeah, I love that. I love that spectrum of like heroes and villains, right? So not
Yeah.
everything is black and white. That's my main
Yeah.
point when I write about my villains, like, or my heroes. You have the do-gooder, think like a Superman type, right? Where no matter what he does, he's always going to do the right thing. And then you have the villain that's just evil because they're evil, right? They just want power. Sauron, Sauron type villain in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But then you have this whole beautiful spectrum in between those that do-gooder hero versus that very, very evil villain. And so you get your reluctant heroes, which I really relied on in this particular narrative. People that, got selected for the job didn't want the job, but stepped up anyway. You have the morally gray anti-heroes, the
Yeah.
ones that you're kind of sort of like, but you're questioning why you like them because they make ridiculous decisions sometimes that might not benefit or be considered, the quintessential good decision, right? The hero
Yeah.
decision. You have your just your villains, your sympathetic villains, where they're bad, but you can kind of understand why. They have like that tragic backstory. So there were all these methods that you can like all these options that you can explore. And I got really excited and explored every single one of them. So I dabbled in a little bit of everything in this
Yeah.
trilogy, just because that was so much fun for me. Like I like when people can hate their villains and I like when they can sympathize with them. And I love when the hero isn't always perfect, but they're flawed. So it was a fun time.
Could you share with us a favorite scene where, okay, probably not a favorite scene because now I realize that if I say you should share a favorite scene, you might end up telling me, well, all of the scenes are my favorite scenes. Could you share with me a scene or character moment from the trilogy that best captures the emotional depth you aim for?
Yeah. So there's a couple of scenes like that. The one that comes to my head are with my two main characters. So it's Theo and Shade. They were best friends when they were growing up. He was picked as one of the vessels. He hasn't seen her in 10 years. And the scene is kind of like when they reunite
Yeah.
for the first time. It's not like your standard reunion of like, oh my God, I'm so excited that I can see you again. It's
Yeah.
very mixed because I feel like when something happens that is almost considered tragic, that separates people for a long time and then they reunite, it might not always be just genuinely happy, right? Like
Yeah.
it's going to be messy. There's going to be a push and pull. And so in this particular scene, Shade is representing like, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm so excited that like you're back. I'm just happy you're here. And Theo is having like those messy emotions of like, I'm excited to see you. I'm happy to see you, but I also wish I didn't see you because I'm dealing with like this thing that I got to solve and I got to fix. And I don't want to pull you into that. And so it's like this push pull of like, he wants her there. He's so happy to have her back, but then he doesn't want her there. He kind of wishes that he could send her away because he doesn't want like her to come on this journey with him. This journey.
Yeah. Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
That
Yeah.
is dangerous and she's just a human, like she's going with him, but he wants her there but he doesn't. And so I hope I reflect that very well through, especially throughout the first book, as he starts to try to reason with himself internally as to why she's there. It's not just because he wants her there, like she serves a purpose, and that's why she has to be there. And so it's that he wrestles with himself. I think that was probably the most relatable piece that I can think of in the first book. There's little ones all throughout, and in the second one it's littered with them too, but that was like the first big where I was hoping like readers could nod and say like, yeah, I get it. Like I get that he missed her and that he's happy to see her, but I
Yeah.
also get that he doesn't want to like. pull her into
Yeah.
all of what's going on with.
Yeah, it does make sense. You often describe your writing as cinematic. How does your love for film like Christopher Nolan's storytelling style influence your approach to novels?
So, oh my gosh, I love Christopher Nolan. Just FYI. There was I enjoy how he depicts certain scenes because I can see them so vividly. And so I describe my writing as cinematic. And just to be clear, there are pros and cons to this.
Yeah.
But like, because when I close, like, I can't write something on a page unless I can see it in my head. And so I have to kind of play it out first, like a movie in my head and see where everything fits before I can start typing it out. And when it works so well. Like it is just great. I can write the details. I can show more. I can do what I got to do. The scene is beautiful. And sometimes like music and stuff like that will help me kind of depict the scene, finish it off. The cons to that, where it doesn't necessarily benefit me, is I tell. Like I can tell a lot. And in a
Oh,
novel, you want to show more than you want to tell,
yeah.
right? And so sometimes I'll be like giving people direction in the writing. Like I'll be typing out like the directions and
Yeah.
where they should be because it's so micro detailed in my head. And so I have to be careful. Like in the editing process, I would try to go back and be like, all right, I can ease up on the scene a little bit. I gave way too much. Let me pull back. My readers are smart, they're intelligent. Like they're going to be able to read what I'm saying, like in between the lines. I don't have to spell it out for them. Like I don't want to ever do that. I want, like I said, my readers like they're intelligent human beings. They're gonna
Yeah.
get what I'm trying to say. Um,
Yes. Since
so
we're
so yeah,
talking
so that's
about
how I like compare.
since we're talking about Christopher Nolan and all that, well, which of his movies is your favorite?
I you know what? I'm a superhero nerd, and when he did Batman, that was a dream of mine. I like melted into a puddle. It was the best thing that I have ever seen. However, if you're really just gonna put me up there and be like, listen, just one of them, pick one. Interstellar was really, really
How
solid.
did how did I, wow, what, how did I even know that? I didn't say it, but I was like Interstellar. I was like Interstellar.
Yes.
I was just thinking I was like Interstellar. That's what she's going to pick. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
wow,
It just
that was a
till this day
masterpiece.
it blows my mind. It just
Every time I listen to the soundtrack, I'm like, gives me chills.
it does. It gives me chills too. That movie is just something else. And so if
Yeah,
I had to pick one, that's gonna be the one.
yeah, wow. Um, writing a book, it's hard. Let alone you then make it a trilogy. But what's the most challenging moment in your writing journey? Now, how did you overcome it?
It's a great question. There's just many challenges in my writing journey. It would, it's gonna sound weird, but I'm gonna say it. Like writing the book was not the hardest part of this journey. Like that was actually the most joyous. And some people, like a common answer would be like the editing process. But to be quite honest, I love the editing process. Like I really enjoyed it. I read my book out loud, which could be awkward, but I definitely want to give that tip out because it
Yeah,
really helps like dialogue flow and pacing and things like that. Repetitive words, like you'll pick it up if you read it out loud. The most challenging part was publishing it, which is easy in and of itself, but mentally, it was probably the most nerve-wracking thing that I've done in a very long time. Putting something very vulnerable like my writing out there is scary. It's not just scary for me, it's scary for everybody in the creative field, and it's scary for everybody in general that's like giving their work to somebody else. Just to share it with them. So that was a little bit challenging. The biggest challenge by far is marketing. Nobody tells you that when you put your book on Amazon, that that's not the end. so so when I put my
wow,
book up there, I'm like, go book, be free into the world and people will find you. No, that is actually not how it works. So you have to actually market your book and like get on social. And a big part of marketing, especially for indie publishers, um, indie authors is social media. And
yeah,
that is a terrifying beast to conquer. And so I've gotten better with it. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing it. And yeah, we're seeing how it goes. I've seen progress with it and it gets me very excited and that keeps me going. But that by far was the most challenging and scariest aspect to this entire author journey is the marketing piece. Like you really have to put yourself out there to get this book noticed.
I feel like when you mentioned the marketing of the book, it's like, when you set a pigeon free and you're like, fly, and the pigeon is like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, that's
cool, like,
exactly what it is.
and you have to give it this push. Sometimes you have to end up giving it the momentum, and then like, yeah, and like,
Exactly. That's
yeah,
exactly what
wow,
it was. I really did like try to like go, go into the world. And it was like, no, I'm gonna sit here and wait.
yeah, I like it. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not you. Yes, this is not for you. Go
Right,
find
right.
a better place to be.
Exactly.
Many of the writers, especially first time writers, they struggle with self doubt. So for me, did you struggle with that? How did you navigate creative doubt and push through to finish the stories eventually?
Yeah. Listen, self-doubt is so common. Like if you're not going through self-doubt, I really applaud you. It's almost like a rite of passage when you're doing a creative project or writing a book in my case.
Yeah,
It's gonna come and you just gotta be ready for it. Like I knew when I started it, I was like, okay, the intrusive thoughts will happen. I just have to prep for them, right? And if I prep for
yeah,
them, I'll be okay. And sometimes I won't, and that's okay. I want to say like I am my own harshest critic. So a lot of the stuff that I see or potentially will see when stuff happens is nothing I haven't thought of myself.
yeah,
I have to say, like, the biggest thing for me to overcome it is to just keep reminding myself, especially when I was going through, like, the editing process and things like that.
yeah,
Haven't even published it yet. Your eyeballs are the only eyeballs that are seeing it. Like, just breathe. It's okay. You're fine. Like, this isn't the end of the world. Like, you just gotta, like, give yourself almost like that inner pep talk, to really, like, shove that self-doubt really
yeah,
down. I'm big on, like, having, like, a little mantra beforehand, and so my mantra was a quote by Terry Pratchett, which was basically the first draft is just you telling yourself the story, and that got
yeah,
me through all 3 books. All 3 books. Every time the self-doubt or creative doubt would creep in, this is just you telling yourself the story. You can edit it when you can, and you're gonna fix it. Wait till you read it out loud. You're gonna spot all of these things. Don't worry about it. You're going to get through it at the end of the day. And guess what? You're going to be the author of 3 books in a trilogy. Like, be proud of that. So just like hype yourself up sometimes, and also give yourself a little grace. Like I said, it's not the end of the world. You're not doing surgery. Like this is a passion. This is something you love. Do it. Get it out there, and it's going to be okay at the end of the day. The self doubt's going to go away.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. As we celebrate National Reading New Book Month, what book outside of your own would you recommend our listeners pick up and why?
Such a great question. That's such a hard question. Right now, I'm gonna twist it a little bit. So right now, I'm reading this series called The Boys of Tommen. It's like a contemporary. I don't even know how to say it. Like a contemporary romance, drama, comedy. It has a little bit of everything. It's my palate cleanser because sometimes when I'm reading too much fantasy, it all starts to blend together in my brain, and so I gotta like cleanse that out. So I
Yeah.
started this series called The Boys of Tommen, and so far it's awesome. Like I highly recommend it.
Wow.
It's not fantasy, but it's awesome. It's a great series so far, and there's like 5 or 6 books I think right now. Really, really like you want to talk about vulnerability. I think the author actually wrote it based like on snippets of her life. And so it's a bit haunting, but really, really awesome. Other than that, I mean, the Akatar series is very popular and out there. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. That's A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And then I also, and I'm not sure, not a lot of people probably know this about me. I do dabble in horror.
Oh.
And so I love this author called Grady Hendrix. He wrote Horror Store, which is probably one of my favorite books of all time, just because of like how he wrote it and the ending. And so I would probably recommend that one as well. So yeah, I'm going to recommend all of those books instead of
Wow.
just
Wow.
one, like you asked me to. I'm sorry.
Thank you for those recommendations, J.F. Monroe. If someone picks up your book this month, what do you hope to walk away with after reading them?
I hope that when they close the book and pick up, they want to pick up the next one would be like a really great thing. But more broadly speaking, I just want them to have a really wonderful experience with it. and a really relatable experience with it. Yes, my books are fantasy romance, but the characters within those books are like me and you. You know, they're just trying to make it in a world that's a little wilder than this one. Maybe not even much so, right? Like we're just trying to all survive in the world that we're given, and that's what these characters are trying to do.
Yeah.
And so when they close the book, that's what I want them to take away, just something relatable and really just have enjoyment throughout it. I wrote these books because I wanted to, because I enjoyed the story and I wanted to share the story and I want them to enjoy it as well. And so just a really positive experience is what I'd want for them when they read these stories.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Where can listeners connect with you and explore the books?
Yes, so I have a website that the books are on. It is jfmonroebookshelf.com. They're also on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited, and the first one is actually on Audible, which is really exciting. So you can find them all there. This second one will be out on Audible end of September, I want to say, fingers crossed. Um, you can find me on social media. I am on Instagram and TikTok at jf.monroe, which is pretty simple. I'll pop right up there. You'll find me. And then I have a blog that's also on my website. It's called Beyond the Veil, and I update that, I believe, monthly. I try to do it by the first of every month.
Yeah, I did prepare a lightning round and so series sets of quick fire questions, and they're 10. So you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
What's the first book you remember falling in love with?
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis.
Coffee, tea, or something else while writing?
Coffee.
If you could step into any fictional world for a day, which would it be?
I'd want to go to Valaris, and
Can you say that again?
I want to go to it's called Valaris and a Court of Thorns and Roses.
Okay. If you could step into any fictional, okay, yeah, I've asked you that. Who's your favorite flawed hero in literature?
There's so many. It's not my favorite, but for the sake of a lightning round, I'm gonna say Cardan in The Cruel Prince. I really like how she depicted him as just really a not nice individual, and yet somehow he stole everybody's hearts. And that's only because it's in my head right now.
Which character from your own trilogy do you relate to the most?
Oh my God. Penny. Penelope Hendricks. Yeah. She's a positive Penny. She's cute.
What's your go-to writing soundtrack or vibe?
Okay. The biggest soundtrack that I've listened to, it's not really a soundtrack, but it's Don't Fear the Reaper by the Baltic House Orchestra. It is a huge and pivotal scene in my book, and all I did was listen to that song on repeat. But other than that, it's usually just a lot of Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is like my person to go to if I'm trying to do everything but that scene.
If your books were adapted into a film, who would you dream cast as your lead?
Oh my God, what is her name? For Theo, I think I would pick Nicholas Galitzine, I think is his name. I really like him. I saw him in a couple of movies and I was like, yes, I think that would be Theo. And then for Shade, oh my God, she's an actress on the show From, and I'm going to completely not remember her name, but she's an actress on the show From, and I love her. She plays like very sweet and innocent, but she definitely has like a fierce side, and I believe that is like a really wonderful embodiment of my female main character. It's going to kill me that I don't remember her name, just
Oh,
FYIs.
wow. Oh,
Gonna sit with
you
that for
mentioned the movies, so a lot of persons can. Is she the lead character in the movie? From?
she's a main character in the show, not the lead.
No, okay, okay.
I think her name
What's
is
one
like
piece?
Ava. It's gonna bother me. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Well, one piece of advice you'd give aspiring authors in one sentence.
If you feel like you have a story within you to create, then you owe it to people to go and yourself to go ahead and create it.
What's the most surprising thing a reader has ever told you about your work?
Someone said that if they could tattoo, I'm going to slaughter this. It was pretty amazing though. Basically, that grief and love share a spine. And I remembered that statement because they were talking about how in the first book they liked that analysis of like how grief and love are basically interchangeable. And if I could get that saying tattooed on my body, I would. Like, I would do that. Like that was really, really awesome. I think that was like something that really stood in my head just because it was somebody I didn't know. Like you have a lot of support from family and friends and things like that to get the book
Yeah.
um, they read it for you, they support you, and that's great. But that was from somebody that I just didn't know, who doesn't know me, and they said something
Yeah.
like that, and that was impactful.
And the last question is finish this sentence. You ready? Stories matter because.
We met.
Okay. Wow. Perfect. Thank you so much, J.F Monroe. Once again, listeners can check out the book at jfmonroebookshelf.com. I'll put the link in the description and in the show notes. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you, Jeff Monroe.
Right back at you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you again too.
That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.